Welcome to Dialogue with Dr. D, where we coach for personal, professional, and spiritual empowerment. I'm your host, Dr. Dee Carroll. Have you ever considered starting your own business? Today, you'll hear firsthand the advantages and disadvantages of being an entrepreneur and how you can become one should you so desire. Today, our topic is employee to entrepreneur. Joining me today is Mark St. Joy and Thomas Gay. Mark is an accomplished economist trained at the University of Freiburg in Switzerland. He studied economic development and foreign relations. He coordinated for over 5 years a nation-building project focused on institutional empowerment in close collaboration with the international community. After migrating to Maryland in 2001, Mark founded Majoy Investments, Inc. He founded that company to focus on economic empowerment for families and small business entrepreneurs. Thomas Gay served 8 years in the U.S. Navy, where he received several honors. Thomas earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Baltimore, Merrick School of Business. Currently, Thomas has a medical staffing firm in Rockville, Maryland. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
D.
you so much for joining me, Mark. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
And Thomas, thank you as well.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you and to have you share with our viewers that transition from employee to entrepreneur. Mark, let's start with you. Tell us what prompted you to become an entrepreneur.
First of all, Dr. D, I would like to congratulate you because your show represents a dialogue that is well needed in our community. And I wish you success moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. As many of us understand, leadership is a quality that you are born with. Myself, having in my young age being an employee, it was always, what can I do for the other one around me? And situation happened where I discovered in me that there was this impatience of a leader that called upon me to create jobs for others. Saying that, you surely have to be a good employee in order to turn into a good employer. Meaning the leader and the entrepreneur. For me, being the entrepreneur evolves around having 3 main qualities among a lot of others. It goes by the 3 C's. You do have to be commitment to your cause, and you do have to be connected. This is the connectiveness. And you do have to have what they call a comprehensive approach about your surrounding and the market or the industry that you aim to thrive into. So that's what I would say to you.
Committed, connected,
connectiveness,
and a comprehensive approach.
That is correct.
Very impressive. I never thought of it that way, but that's good.
But I'm sure that you would understand it better than I do, even if I do.
Well, it really makes sense, Mark, but putting it together and really looking at that as a foundation or a structure prior to getting started, I didn't. I just had a drive, and I knew I had the willingness to do it and to make some things happen, some great things. So I took the plunge.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to contribute.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. Tell us a little bit, Thomas, if you will, about your business and why you decided to take the plunge.
Well, first I want to say thank you, Dr. D, and congratulations on your show.
Thank you.
Wish you many, many more success.
Thank you.
I would say personally, what really inspired me to take that plunge into starting a business is really comes down to a burning desire I have as an individual. First off, I love to help people, and I once heard, you know, the key to success is helping others.
Yes.
But I know that, you know, going back in my military days and following, you know, instruction, I realized that I needed some kind of structure. So throughout my success being in the military and having the opportunity to travel and see the world, and coming back and going to school on the GI Bill, I realized that I have another calling in life. And that calling was to really, you know, help others. And what better way to help others when you can provide employment for individual. And this is what really inspired me in terms of burning desire, when you can get a call and say, thank you, Mr. Gay, for getting me a job. Like we recently had a success with a young lady in McDill Air Force Base, got a job, and she was so inspired. She wrote a letter that was really heart touching, knowing that she got a job. And that's really the feeling, that sense of looking after others.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a burning desire.
Well, Thomas, you know that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I like to think of it as the road less traveled by. You can start up, anyone can hang out a shingle, but really being successful at it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. And the average person is not willing to travel the road less traveled by. You know, they're not willing to get up when they're tired. They're not really willing to work that extra weekend after having done so for 5 straight. They're not willing to deal with the sacrifices that are required to see this thing called entrepreneurship through. What advice can you give people who are really considering entrepreneurship?
I would say, Dr. D, you know, the one thing that comes to my, you know, mind when you think about, you know, for others out there is really address your fear, because once you can address your fear and face it and look that fear in the mirror and say, look, I'm going to take over my life and I'm going to go on and do what my potential is. That would be the first advice I give someone. But I know that somehow, you know, addressing that fear, there is a risk where it can cause you so many, you know, loneliness, you know, risk of losing your family, risk of being out there alone and, you know, uncharted territory.
Well, Thomas, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to discuss that further. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Dialogue with Dr. D, where we coach for personal, professional, and spiritual empowerment. Today, we're discussing employee to entrepreneurship with our guests, Mark St. Joy and Thomas Gay.
Thank you.
Mark, is entrepreneurship easy as you make it look, especially when we consider marketing, financing, and overall management of the business?
Correct. It is not easy, Dr. D, but there are principles. You have to go into a line of business that you are passionate about, because that waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going back to bed at 2 in the a.m., if you're not passionate, you will not be able to do that.
Right.
After that, you have to have the willing to learn and inform yourself. As you know better than we all do, that education is the key. Once you combine those two parameters, you can start surrounding yourself with the support system that is appropriate for what you want to do. Entrepreneurs that succeed in the business have one good thing going for them. They have what they call the clarity of purpose. Once you have the clarity of purpose, all what we would say that is waste on the side,
Yes.
you avoid that.
Yes.
You avoid waste of time, waste of contributors that really will not get you to the goal.
Yes.
And also, as Mr. Gay was saying, there's an absence of fear. Now you're able to get to that point.
Right.
If I recall, I was watching a program where the great Magic Johnson was being interviewed. And he said in that interview that the first company that he had to open, he sought for loans, financing, and he was turned down
Yes.
many, many
Yes.
times. And he still moved forward.
Yes.
And now we know what empire he has built.
Yes. Yes.
Again, it's, I would say to those young people out there, surround yourself with a good support system. Get to people that really want to get you there, because you should avoid negative egos
Yes.
of other competitors or potential competitors. And I know that I anticipate also that you would have a future guest that will be able to really guide people through
Yes.
with professional guidelines about marketing and financing and all that. I don't want to anticipate on that, because I know that that guest will surely better place than me to give to the young people out there the proper tools.
But I appreciate you bringing up financing, in particular with Magic Johnson. If Magic Johnson can be turned down 4 times, imagine what the average person has to go through trying to secure financing, not to mention just trying to secure business itself. Right. So that's very difficult. But push through the burn is what I hear you saying.
That's what it is.
Never give up. You know, quitting.
You cannot quit on your passion. You cannot give up on your passion. We are passionate about life.
Yes.
That's why we don't give up on
We don't
life.
give up. We fight to the finish.
That's what it is.
Fight to the finish. So great. That's a wonderful tip for aspiring entrepreneurs. Now, Thomas, during the economic downturn, you know, we are all facing challenges today.
Right.
You know, just based on what's happening with our economy, based on what's happening in our country. What do you say to an aspiring entrepreneur? Is it now time? Do you wait till the economy turns around? What are you saying?
Well, first of all, I would say, Dr. D, is that to that inspiring entrepreneur is whenever there's trouble of economical situation, you know, society tend to look at the downside. But what I would say to that inspiring entrepreneur is that you have to look beyond the immediate situation and look for opportunity. You know, like Mark and I always have a discussion, and we'll go on in the average day, we'll probably have about 4 to 5 discussions just about life, business, and perspective on things. And one thing I can always go back and think of what he and I have discussion on, he's like, Thomas, there's always opportunity around you, but people just don't see it.
Yes.
So, you know, to that young, inspiring entrepreneur, look at the future, see what that client need is, and work towards that. And you'll be surprised how much opportunity is out there for the reach.
Yes, there are opportunities. So if a viewer wants to look at entrepreneurship and start a small business, I know Mark here is saying that they should think about what they're passionate about, but would you suggest at all that they look at what's hot, what is moving in the industry today?
I would say mainly look at trend, because you know when you think about your opportunity you have and your passion, you have to somehow look at where are your passion, how can you align the opportunity with your passion, because somehow you could be passionate about owning a barbershop, you could be passionate about owning something, but then again you want to be able to seize that opportunity.
Yes.
So you know, in terms of just having a passion, but then also you want to be able to just work towards that, just kind of look to see beyond the immediate struggle and work towards whatever that new future opportunity is.
Okay.
Because the opportunity is always ahead of you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Allow me to thank you, Mark,
It's a pleasure.
for your insight and your guidance.
Thank you,
Thomas,
Beck.
you as well. I really appreciate you all sharing today.
Thank you.
When we return, we'll be joined by Lorette Ferris to share some insight on financing and securing exactly what you need to start your business. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Dialogue with Dr. D. I'm your host, Dr. Dee Carroll, and this segment of Employee to Entrepreneurship is focused on access to unlimited financing. Joining me today is Lorette Ferris. Lorette is a seasoned business financing executive. She is experienced in risk management and investment banking to include mergers and acquisitions. Today, Ms. Ferris helps small and emerging market entrepreneurs develop capital raising campaigns that are executed through a turnkey back office system. This system is designed for time-challenged executives. Lorette, welcome.
Thank you.
I am so happy to have you here today. You know that one of the biggest issues facing our small businesses today is access to capital. How have you managed to get them beyond that situation?
When I hear access to capital, I know that most of the market is generally thinking about loans. And we know in today's climate, it's very difficult to get a loan, especially for a small business, for a startup, for emerging companies, if they don't have certain criteria.
Yes.
I'm able to assist companies in raising capital outside of the loan arena because it has more to do with the investment world. So you have investors that are interested in assisting those same small startup emerging companies. And now that the SEC has adjusted their regulations, that opens the door for small businesses to utilize mechanisms to help them raise capital. My background allows me to come in and help those companies fashion their capital campaign to raise unlimited capital in the manner that they need it for their companies.
Now, when you say investment, typically the first thing people think about is giving up a percentage of their business. Tell us more about that.
That is the initial reaction that most people do have until they then understand what options are available. The way I like to speak with companies that are trying to understand the arena is no different than when you go into a bank to get a loan. There are different types of loans. You have whether it's a line of credit or whether, you know, small business. There are different types.
Right.
Each type of loan has a certain criteria.
Okay.
It's the same thing in the investment world. There are different types of investments. So whether a company is looking at possibly selling stock in their company, i.e. their C stock,
Okay.
versus preferred stock.
Yes.
Well, the preferred stock, you're not giving up the same kind of equity in your company
Right.
that you would with C. Or one of the big things that happens today is looking at what's called a hybrid security, where you're really selling debt. So it's like a loan, but in the event that the company executes the milestones that you set out in your business plan, that same investor may want to convert that debt into equity.
Okay.
So there's a lot of ways to fashion it, and it's a matter of understanding the different instruments so that when you go to offer an investment in your company, you fashion that offering where it makes sense for you in the place that you are.
Yes. Yes.
You raise capital in pieces at a time, and so each piece may be fashioned differently because your company is in a different place.
Right.
But definitely early stage companies have to be very careful about giving up equity and too much equity
Yes.
early on.
Yes. Now, I know you've played with the big boys in New York. You know, you did mergers, you did acquisitions. I mean, you were right there in the Shark Tank, I would like to say.
Yeah.
How do you parlay all the things that you did there into making things happen on this level?
It's definitely different. When you're doing an IPO, there are understanding what goes into it is what makes a difference when I then work with a smaller company.
Okay.
To a large degree, you're doing almost the same thing that the investment banker did to raise capital for their client. In using the regulations I do to work with the company, I'm putting them in the position to do the same thing, but the difference is you're just doing it on a smaller level. Stock is stock.
Okay.
Okay, investors are investors, but you just have to help that smaller company understand the investment climate so that when they're fashioning their offering, it's actually being directed to the audience that's made for them.
Okay.
You truly have investors that are interested in working with small local businesses, but you got to fashion your offering where it makes sense for them. If they can put, you know, $100,000 into a CD and make a certain return, then if you're going to do an offering, you have to do it where it's at least equivalent
To that.
And it's the same thing that the big boys are doing. You just fashion it for a smaller company.
Or a smaller business. Now, what's on average, what percentage are they looking for the small business to give up or to share in?
A lot of times, and again, it goes back to in today's market, you truly have a lot of investors looking at these hybrid securities.
Okay.
Of course, a new, startup company, investors understand they may not have anything there. So looking for equity isn't necessarily the first thing that they're looking at.
What are they looking at?
They're looking at the return that they can get on their money.
Further, later, down the road.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your investors in a small company understand, I like to call it patient capital. They understand that if they're putting money into this small business, that it's going to take a minute for that business to hit the milestones it said it needed to before they're even generating the revenue to come back.
Okay.
So investors that have an appetite for that young, small company, they understand that they got to be patient, and that's why I use patient capital.
Patient capital. I had not heard that before today. So what tips can you offer for those small businesses out there who are considering raising capital right now?
First is clearly education. You have to understand what instruments are available to you and what type of investors are available to you.
Okay.
So first and foremost is education.
Okay.
Secondly, it is working with a right party. There's a lot that goes on in this industry, and there are new rules and regulations of which the regulators are your SEC, your different state regulators. They are very much watching what's going on.
Okay.
So the second tip I would give them is understand compliance that goes along with the raising of the capital. If you
Okay.
put those two things in place, then you're well on your way to making a pretty shrewd decision on what to
Okay.
do.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate the guidance that you're offering to our viewers. Thank you once again. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Dialogue with Dr. D. I'm your host, Dr. Dee Carroll. Our topic today has been employee to entrepreneur with a focus on access to unlimited capital. Entrepreneurship involves taking risks. If you desire to be an entrepreneur, you can be empowered to success. A multi-million-dollar idea with no financing is much like faith without works. It's dead. Having a great idea is the equivalent of planting a flower or tree. It takes the correct amount of resources applied at the appropriate time for the tree to grow and blossom to its full potential. Remember, we're here to support your professional development. Don't delay. Embrace your goals now.